It looks with James. It's not season ending. It's not. He won't be available this week. It looks to be a couple weeks, and we're evaluating the timeline and if there's any roster management with that. But right now, as we know, it will be a couple weeks.
And Storm Duck.
Storm Duck will also be a couple weeks.
And how about Austin Jackson?
Still finding out some more information on him, and in regards to his toe.
And then Benito Jones.
It looks like Benito's in a week to week category. I wouldn't rule him totally out for this game, but I wouldn't rule him in either. We'll see how time progresses.
And is there anyone in concussion protocol after yesterday?
No, there's not.
Not getting to the run game was the biggest factor in that. The turnovers, time of possession, and also the big lead that the Colts took.
Well, no, I think the biggest issue was that 4 out of the first 5 drives were turnovers, and 24 points came off those turnovers. So, in situations like that, it is, and in those situations, if you're, not only failing in one phase but in multiple phases, and then you're not getting off the field, you're not going to have any plays. We had like 48 plays, so it was tough to get any sort of balance of anything based on didn't earn more.
There was a stat highlighted by Dan Orlovsky that it's now 1 full calendar year since Tyreek Hill's last 30-yard reception down the field. I guess my question is how?
Well, there's he hasn't caught a 30-yard reception for a multitude of reasons. One, this last game, there was probably 3 different opportunities that the opportunity was taken away from him by his teammates' lack of execution on their non-ball assignments. So there's a litany of things, compounding variables when you're talking about something like that, and specifically with yesterday, I'm not sure for the entire whole season if I'd want to say it was the same thing, but for this past game, it was definitely that. The opportunities were there. No one saw the throw and the catch because it didn't exist because of a teammate.
Mike, it's easy for us to point out a lot of the bad things that happened. What were some of the good things that you saw happen either individually or by unit yesterday?
I think to be honest, like there's I think the positive is that that was a miserable experience. It was embarrassing, flat out. And in that, there's nowhere to hide. It's almost, within the game. It's almost good that that it wasn't reachable. That we were -4 because there's, as a team we have to. I was really looking forward to seeing the stuff that we've really worked on diligently, and I didn't see any of it, and that's a problem. So it's also teams. Usually it's not week 1 off of a blowout, but teams generally have a lesson that you have to learn, particularly as you go through the season and get into the final stretch of how to prepare and apply your position specific non-negotiables in a game. And you generally learn that lesson the hard way when you don't do it correctly. And there's a lot of times that I don't want to misconstrue it. One of the reasons, it was tough to get punched in the mouth like that was because it was not a result of lack of intent. There's a lot of guys out there trying to make plays on a all things equal. That's not necessarily a bad villainous thing to desire. However, when your mind isn't focused on your exact responsibilities as it relates to your teammates, and when you're not playing, in all three phases, you're not playing collective team football where you are doing your job and then one or two players on the field get to make the play. There's a cost. So it was I think we watched 93 out of the 136 plays as a team today, and that is not fun. Yesterday wasn't fun, but the point is that that you have to learn, and the NFL is a league of development and growth, and teams start out do it. First 4 weeks is generally wild because people are figuring out who they are. On paper who you think you're going to be, but in actual execution, who you are, and then molding themselves to that. And you have to continue to get better. I would say the good news and the positive is I don't see how it could be worse. And I also believe in the coaches and players to get it fixed, because it wasn't. It's just a shame. It's you work behind the scenes for months on end, and you don't show any of it. It's frustrating, but that can be a good thing, and that's what I saw from the positive. I also, you could tell, as frustrating as it was, the team didn't splinter, and the effort still remained. There's things there, but overall, I'm not trying to, paint a glossy. I'll call it what it is. It wasn't, embarrassing. Not anything that paying fans sign up for.
Was it mostly mental or physical?
I would say it was the mental focus on what the physical is. There was no lack of physicality. I'll give an example. All right, so there was probably, every starter on the tape that I was pointing out. But just so you guys, it's not I don't make a habit of putting family business and just, out at the podium. But for example's sake, there was one play that ultimately led to being an explosive that the utmost dependable player, Zach Sealer, in an attempt to get a sack at the final stage of pass rush, kind of voids his pass rush lane. Well-intentioned, trying to make a play, but the dropping of rush lanes allows for an explosive that you have to learn how to, with new teammates, play with them and lean on them and trust them. So we have a very close team that I think was caught by surprise, and I think that's because their play wasn't as close as on game day as one would like. So back on the grind. Sole focus is on fixing that and nothing else, because if we're going to work diligently at our craft and technique and fundamentals, we should actually use it in games. I think that's important.
How did you evaluate Keon Smith's play, and will you continue to roll with him at right guard in another couple of games?
I think I thought he did a very good job in there. He got more and more comfortable, and I think in the last drive or two, he was able to do some pass sets that his feet connected with his hands in terms of timing, and he shocked the defender on the line of scrimmage. So there's some positive stuff from his game, and there's some details like every player I would say had where they can very much improve, which is why they employ coaches, is to find those things and then improve them, and counting on our guys to lean into all those things and get our game ready for Sundays like it should be.
I know you've said that you guys don't pay much attention to outside noise and narratives, but I guess for people who may be concerned about the direction of this team, direction of this franchise, given how long it's been since the last playoff win, given how last season ended and now yesterday's performance, what would your response to them be?
Yeah, I mean, that you're saying fans are frustrated for a loss that they like us would have. Don't think that's acceptable. So I mean, I don't really. I mean, fans want to win, and when you don't, they don't like it. And there's our journey here as players and coaches is forever whatever fraction of that tenure, but at the same time, understanding that we have season ticket holders that have been having season tickets since mid '70s and or earlier than that. The fans that cheer for us, that's part of their journey. So we very much understand all that, and I think my job is to focus on getting the stuff right. And there's a lot of times in football that whether good or bad, regardless if you stand on business, it's not gonna end up well. So we have to improve from the last performance, but we have to improve in general, like every other team does, or you get left in the dust. So I think one of 17 is one of 17, and if that type of game doesn't show up ever again, that's the only way you can make it worth it, because otherwise it's just miserable for miserable's sake. So I don't really question any of that, and I think the biggest thing is regardless of what they say, I know with certainty that Dolphins fans want to see the Dolphins do well and win football games.
Just to clarify on Austin Jackson, did he re-aggravate the toe, and could that be a long-term thing?
Yeah, we're just looking at his toe, getting some opinions, and don't have a timetable at all. I would be rushing to judgment if I were to put it in the other categories.
I was going to ask you the decision not to put Waller on IR, and do doctors think that he should just sit and rest for another week or two to heal the hip?
No, so I know he's trying to play. Shoot, I think we have 2 games in 11 days, right? So he's trying to play as best he can on this next one. If he can't, he'll try to play on the next game, and we'll take it that way.
The phrase "don't get too high, don't get too low" a lot yesterday. Just how important is that mantra this week? And when you think of just the grand scheme of things, in what ways are you helping to implore the players to stay on that middle course?
Well, I think you have to utilize history and your experiences and understand that there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat, so to speak. Your NFL season is 17 weeks. Week 1, are you kicking your feet up and sitting in the sun after a win? Or are you overcooking that? Right now we have 1 loss, and our job is to learn from both good and bad, but to continue to progress so that you can play meaningful football that actually matters and win those games down the stretch of the season. So I think the biggest thing, you learn it both ways. We've had our first 2 years here. I was doing the inverse. You're still doing it regardless. It's the same, where you're trying to get people connected to their game and develop it and grow the overall collective football as the season progresses, regardless. And I've had bad seasons with a lot of wins early. I've been the whole gamut. I think at Atlanta we lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the division, game 1, and we were in the Super Bowl that year. All things, it's 1 of 17, and with a showing like we had, to me the key is that we, with absolute certainty, learn from it and utilize it in not just this season, but the very next game and moving forward.
Would you know?
Questions?
There's a saying the biggest 1 week improvement teams will make is between games 1 and 2. Do you subscribe to that?
Well, you can. The hardest week in the NFL football season, generally, to nail down exactly what you're going to get is week 1, just because of the simple formula of time with the people that have played together, time where it's how long it's been since, it's a different deal when there's 70,000, and it's broadcast and you're playing 4 quarters. So each and every year, I can't remember a week 1 that I've been like, yes, you win. Sometimes that feels good, but generally you're really doing a lot of labor on, correcting what you thought would occur by your concepts and your technique and fundamentals, because it is 0 to 60 for a lot of guys. So it's all on a competitive, balanced field. So it's generally the team in week 1 that can handle the not beating themselves, generally win. That's the case with football in general a lot of the times, but specifically in week 1, because there's more penalties, there's more turnovers, there's more of all that. So yeah, the week 2 is generally a big week where you can see a lot of improvement, and that's obviously where our mindset is and where our focus lies.
Last question.
Mike, how do you feel like the marriage between your pass rush and your coverage operated yesterday?
Oh, I think we see our pass rush as a strength, and we felt like there was some meat left on the bone, for sure. This past game, I think the rush being tied to coverage, I had expected, I think we all expected to have a little more production that way, just because of what we've been working on, what we've put on tape, in the off season and going into training camp. But again, you only are what you are, and I think that's probably the most frustrating part. Is our guys knew that we had the opportunity to have a game where we could show what we've been working on. We didn't. Fortunately, we have another game coming up in T-6 days.